Hi Year 4 and welcome to today's maths lesson. Can you have a quick look at the starter? It's based on what we did yesterday, so it should be hopefully quite straightforward. Pause the video, have a go, and then we'll go through the answers together. Okay, I've just written the answer in quickly for you. If you can self-mark it and just double check that you got them correct, then that's great. It's just using what we did yesterday, so hopefully that was okay for you. So we're carrying on with what we did yesterday, but we're looking more at the place value of each digit and understanding the difference between the tenths and the hundreds. Now we've looked at both. So looking at this then, we have 0.1, which we know is 1/10, and we have 0.01 counters, which are hundredths counters. So the tenth 0.1 counters represent something. So we need to fill in the sentence stems. So there are 1, 2, 3 tenth counters. So the 3 tenth counters represent, so what would they represent? If I added all 3 of these up, what would they equal? It would be 0.3. Okay, the 100 counters represent, so if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 600 counters, they would represent 0.06, because if I put all of these, if we were doing column addition, if I put them all here, because you can still use column addition to add tenths and hundreds, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I didn't do enough. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You would add all the hundreds up, you'd add all the tenths up, which is 0, and then all of the ones up, which is also 0. So therefore it's 0.06, okay, not 0.6, okay? It's really important to remember because it's easily done to mix them up. Oh, I just rubbed that out by accident as well. So therefore, we have 3 and 600ths make 0.36, okay, because we have, well, 30, I guess, actually, sorry, it should be 30 and 600ths make 36, okay, because if that's 0.3 tenths, then that's 30 hundredths, so 30 and 600ths make 0.6, okay. We could also write this as a part whole model, so if I have 0.36 as our value, because that's what they all add up to, we could partition it using our part whole model into tenths and hundredths. So how many tenths are in 0.36? 1, 2, 3, which is 0.3, and then it would be 0.06, and if you add these two up, you would get 0.36. Okay, hopefully that was all okay. It's now your turn to have a go. So what I want you to do is, you don't have to write this down, but just maybe say it to yourself, have a think, or say it to someone at home. Think about how many tenths there are and what that represents, how many hundredths are there and what that represents, and then what they are together and what decimal they make when you add them together. So pause the video and have a go at that for me. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths counters, that represents 0.5. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 hundredth counters, which represent 0.04. So 50 and 4 hundredths make 0.54. Okay, so think of it, if you're still getting a bit confused by it, 10 of these counters makes one of these. So you could have, if I copy and paste these a minute. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Hang on, let me pause the video and sort. So all I've done there is just done 10 hundredths. So 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10. Okay, so it's really important to remember that, which is why I've just shown it to you. So 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10. Those are the same, so you can exchange 10 hundredths for one 10 counter. Okay, it's the same process as tens, ones, hundredths before the decimal point. We're just looking at beyond the decimal point now with our tenths and hundreds. Okay, so hopefully that explained it a bit better, and I'm not going off onto a tangent too much. So now can you have a go at writing that number then that you've just looked at as a part whole model? So the value is 0.54. So how would you write it as a part whole model? Pause the video and have a go. So the value is 0.54. So therefore you have 0.5, so there's 5 tenths, and there are 0.04 hundredths. Okay, so you partition it into your tenths and your hundredths. So therefore it's 0.5 and 0.04. So our developed learning then, look at the following statement. We have 0.76 equals 0 point something and 0 point something. What are the missing digits? How do you know? And can you explain using these sentence stems? So I'll model it, and then in a minute you'll have a go. So it says, I know that the missing digits are 0.7 and 0.06. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I know this because I can see there are 7 tenths, which is 0.7, and there are 6 hundredths, which is 0.06. And that's all it is, okay? So it's just looking at each value and knowing what they're worth and how to write them if you partition them, just understanding each individual digit. So now it's time for you to have a go at that. So if you've got someone at home, then great, explain it to them using the sentence stems. If not, then maybe just think about it to yourself, or even write it down. Write down what it would be if you partitioned it. And then we'll go through it together. So 0.47 is 0.4 and 0.07. I know this because there are 4 tenths in 0.47 and there are 7 hundredths in 0.47. Therefore, there are 0.4 and 0.07. So hopefully that was all okay for you and it wasn't too tricky. I mean, it's just building on what we did yesterday, so hopefully it was okay. Moving on then to your activity for today, this is group 1's task. There are 3 questions there for you to have a look at. This is also on the PDF on the website. This is group 1 and 2. Group 2. And then the challenge. Once you've had a go at some of them, come back and we'll go through the answers together. Okay, so let's look at the first question then. It says, write the decimal represented in each place value grid. So there's 2 different ones, so you would have to do it twice. I'll do the first one in one colour and then the second another. So I'll do this one in red. So in the first one, there are 2 ones, there is 3 tenths, and there is 0 hundred. The decimal represented is 2.3. That's the first one, okay? The second one, I'll do in green, Christmassy colours. There are 3 ones this time, 0 tenths and 4 hundredths. So therefore that time it would be 3.04, okay, because there's no hundredths that time, no tenths, but just hundredths. And it says make the decimals on a place value grid. Use the sentence stems to describe each number. So with this one, I'll just pause the video and draw a place value grid quickly. Okay, so for the first one, 0.34, you'd have no ones, and then, sorry, in the tenths you'd have 3 counters, and you'd have 4 hundredths, so 4 in the hundredths. Okay, for 2.15, you would have 2 in the ones column, 1 in the tenths, and 5 in the hundredths. And then 0.03, you'd have no ones, no tenths, and 3 hundredths. And 1.01 would be 1, no tenths, and 1 hundredth. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too fast. If you need to go back through the video, then feel free. Let me just pause the video while I get rid of that. And then the next question says, represent the decimals on a place value grid and a part whole model. Oh, so I shouldn't have actually gotten rid of my place value grid, but I'll do it up here. So ones, tenths, and hundredths. Don't know why I've got green. Let's change that to blue. So 0.27, that would be 2/10, and then 7/100, like that. And in a part whole model, it would be 0.27 at the top, and then 0.2 and 0.27. Nope, that's a lie. Sorry, I wasn't thinking. 0.07. Okay. 0.72, you would have basically the other way around. So you would have if my pen wants to work, 7/10 and 2/100, and then as a place value, let's just rub all that out. It'd be 0.72 at the top one, and then 0.7 and 0.02 for the bottom one, and then finally 0.62. You would have 6/10, 2/100, and in the part whole model, it would be 0.62, which is 0.6 and 0.02. Sorry, that was so long-winded, and we probably got very bored, but it has to be done to go through the answer, I'm afraid. There we go. Next one then, for group 1 and 2, so 0.67 is partitioned into 0.6 and 0.07. B would be 0.82, 0.02, and 0.8. C would be 0.8 and 0.07, and then this one, you fill in the top one, which is 0.75. Okay, I'll whiz through that because I'm just aware of the video, how long it's going on for. Group 2, question 3, complete the following expressions. So 0.37 is 3/10 and 7/100. 0.37 is 2/10 and 17/100. 0.37 is 1/10 and 27/100. So all is happening there is they have exchanged a tenth each time for 10/100, which is why there's one less tenth each time, but 10 lots more hundreds. So it still equals the same value. And 0.37 would be 37/100. So hopefully you were able to see the pattern with that one. And this one says Louis has the following place value counters. He writes the number as 0.63. Do you agree or disagree with Louis? Explain your answer. So I can see he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 0.01 counters, which is hundredths. So that would be 0.06. And he's got 1, 2, 3 tenths counters, which is 0.3. So actually, if he added them together, it would be 0. Sorry, they look like sixes. They really shouldn't. 0.36. Okay, so he's got mixed up. He has written his hundreds in the tenths and his tenths in the hundreds, where it should be the other way around, because 0.01 is a hundredth and 0.1 is a tenth. Hopefully that explanation was okay for you. Finally, the challenge. Ron says he can partition 0.34 in more than one way. 0.34 can be partitioned into these 3 different ways. Use Ron's method to partition 0.45 in more than one way. So this is using a similar thing to what you've done here, where you exchanged a tenth for 10/100. So for 45, you could have, and I can't go through all of them because it would take too long, but I'll give you some examples. 45, you obviously could have 0.4 and 0.05. You might have, I'm just going to write them down here, you could have 0.3 and 0.15, 0.2, 0.25, because if they added together, they would still make that, 0.1, 0.35. And you could also well, I guess you could go down to the bottom one, which would just be 0.45, but then you'd only have one bubble filled up. But those are the main ones. Sorry about the email. So those are the main ones for that. Hopefully that was all okay for you. Any questions or anything, let me know and I'll be happy to help. Thank you for watching, and hopefully it wasn't too boring for you.